Hello everyone. So today I was playing with GIMP and I was not really playing but in fact I was using it for printing my passport size photographs. Now of course you can go to your photographer, your local photographer, and you can ask them to print a photograph for you in case you need a photograph. Let us say you're applying for I don't know, it could be any government application where you need to have a photograph. So this is something that of course you can do yourself if you have a printer, of course. So you need a printer, color printer, and you also need that glossy page, that glossy paper for photographs. Now the main challenge uh, is to basically create this grid where you can have the photograph with few enhancements, like removing the background, and at the same time making sure that the photograph is aligned in a grid so that when you print it you can just cut it using scissors. So I thought I'll probably show you this very quickly today because this is something that I'm sure many of you want to do yourself. I think it is I think in my opinion having a printer at home is a great thing. So you can basically print things yourself. Not only just a printer, but I think we should all have a scanner. So you can always scan your documents if needed. And I think if you have a scanner, you can always take backup of your important documents. So let us first create a blank blank page, and what I'll do, I'll use this option on top, or you can press Control N. I mean, for creating this new image, and you can of course select the size here, and this size should depend on your actual photo paper size. So this could be in inches or this could be in centimeters, but you have the option here to specify and change this size here. And what I recommend is if you're using, of course, usually the paper size is in inches, and if you talk about a standard photograph size, I believe it is 7 by 5. So let us select here inches, and what you can do is you can specify the width. And what I also recommend is um, I think this is really important. You should always invest. It's not a big deal, but I think we should all have a really good scale or footer or whatever you call in your country, meter. So I normally have this this metallic scale. This has a lot of use cases. You can not only of course scale, use it as a scale, but you can also use it to cut those envelopes. Really good thing. I love these metallic ones. So let us create this image. And what we'll do here is we can also take a look at advanced options, and color space should be RGB. I mean, you don't really want black and white image, right? So I think what we need to do is we can, uh, if you notice here that this background is black, don't worry. It can of course depend on, let us do it again. If you do it again using Control N, and if you go to advanced options, just take a look here, what all options you have. So you can actually fill it with the background color, or you can just keep it as maybe transparent or white. I think if you're talking about passport size photographs, I think white makes sense in most cases, I guess, but you can change it later on. So don't worry about the background color. So for this example, it would be white. Now the way GIMP works is you have this concept of layers. So you can have different layers, and what we'll do, we'll basically place our image on top of this particular background. So it will be a layer, and you don't have to be super accurate with this. If you are new to GIMP or if you are doing it for the very first time, don't worry too much about perfection. It is more about the image or the grid should look nice. But in GIMP, you have the option to use these guidelines. So you can actually roughly place it somewhere in the middle. I think that should work. But the good thing about these guides is that you can also use the actual setting to have these guides at the very center, or basically you can define the margin. But for this example, we'll keep it simple. We'll have this guide somewhere in the middle. Now for the next, the main thing is we need an image, and that image should be, let us say, of a specific size. If you're talking about Indian passport, I believe it is I guess it is 2 inch by 2 inch. So that is the size. And what we can do is we can actually work on the image now. And again, in this video, we're not really trying to do each and everything perfectly. It is more about getting things done. And it is not really about achieving perfection. So what I'll do, I'll create a new image. And if you already have an image somewhere, great, import it. And you can obviously crop it. But if you need to GIMP, my recommendation would be to start with maybe a blank image, and you can of course set the size here. I think if you're setting the size here, this will make your life much more easier. So maybe you can define here width and also height, 2 inch by 2 inch, and that is it. And you can then of course press OK, and you have this background which you can ignore. So by the way, you can also fill your background with white color. So right now the color here is white. You can actually select here from the menu where you can have this bucket fill tool, and you can actually fill it with white. So now we are back to white. Now what we need to do, we need to of course bring in our image. And if you're doing it for the very first time, maybe you have your image taken from your mobile phone, just copy the image using your copying the image. It will work both on Windows, Mac, or maybe if you're using Linux. I hope you're using Linux, which I'm using right now. So it will definitely work. So copy the image, and what I'll do, and when you're working with GIMP, always, if you're not really sure, use the move tool. And by the way, there are different shortcuts, but this very first icon here is basically the move tool. If you select this, then you can basically move the object here and there. And you can then press the image, and now this is my image, by the way. And yes, I look really good. Now what we can do is we can actually now work on the image, and this image, it might look small or big depending upon the size. So I think it is a bit small. What I really want to do is I want to increase the size. Now the moment you paste your image here, you will notice on the right hand side, the layer will show you this your layer will probably show you this floating selection. You can actually right click on it and then say to new layer. And once you do this, you can then scale the image. So you can actually scale the layer, the whole layer, it will work. And maybe you can scale it. Let us say you want to change the height to maybe, if you're talking about inches, keep it a bit less than 2, maybe 1.8, or you can just play. I mean, don't worry about it too much. So just maybe 2 inch. And we're using the we are using inches here because that is what the base size is. Now we have this image. I think it looks fine to me, but we can obviously, because we are still using the move tool, you can actually move it and place it right maybe roughly in the center, both vertically and horizontally, and this looks fine. Now if you look at this image, by the way, right now we have this image pasted on top of the because that image was a bit wide, and that is why you see these these dotted lines. What you can do is you can actually right click on it, and then you can select here layer to image size. So basically you will not get those additional lines. So this is fine. Now this image in itself is wonderful in my opinion, because there is no massive background, but the background is not really white. If you look at the white color, this is white and this is not white. And maybe I'll just copy the image, and for copying you can press Ctrl A and press Ctrl C, and then you can go to the main image, main print format image, and you can press you can do a paste here, like, or Ctrl V, and you will notice that it is definitely not white. Maybe it is fine, maybe it is not fine, but what we'll do, we'll remove the background. And you have to be careful with this if you're using roughly white background, because this white background is basically the background of my wall in my room. So it is white, but because you're taking a photograph, it is not always like super milky white. So it is a bit off white. So what we'll do, we'll remove it, and for removing the background within GIMP, there is a way to do it very easily. I mean, you can obviously manually like trace the outline, and it is a bit cumbersome. But if you're using this fuzzy, if you use this fuzzy select tool, you can actually click on the white portion, and maybe I need to select make sure you select the pasted layer, and if you select this again, you will notice this outline-ish kind of a thing, and this is all you need to do. And if you press delete, now the background is deleted. Now if you notice, this is obviously not really perfect because this is slightly on the right hand side because there was a shadow. So select it here again, remove it. Also this particular area is not really perfect, so remove it again, and you can notice, you will notice that this has removed a bit of my shirt, which I don't really want. So you can do Control Z, and what we can do is we can do it manually. And because we have done 90% or 95% of the thing using the fuzzy select tool, but for remaining bits and pieces we can actually do it manually. And if you want to basically select the move tool again, you can, but if you're working with GIMP, you can obviously always press Control Shift A, and it will basically get rid of any selections, which is something that you want. Otherwise it will disturb the image. So press Control Shift A, it will basically unselect everything. And now what we need to do, we need to use this eraser tool, and this eraser tool will basically let you remove the missing or a little bit of this shadow or this unwanted area, and you can do it obviously manually. So, and by the way, when you're erasing, you can change the size of this. I mean, if you notice, this is not really super big, it is a bit small, but this small is actually good because you can fine control the areas that you want to remove. And I think because this particular part of my shirt was slightly whitish, that is why the fuzzy tool was a bit confused. But now if you try the fuzzy tool again and try to remove it, hopefully it will remove the shadow properly. And it has again removed this slightly portion here, which is fine, I guess. So what you can do is you can press Control Shift A again, and now we have the image back. And by the way, you can also fix it, by the way. So I mean, I think this is not really looking bad. It's a small dot somewhere on the shirt. It's like a shade, which is something that you can obviously change and modify. So this is great. This image looks wonderful. What I can do is I can now go back to the original image, and again, if you want, you can go to the layer and delete the layer because we don't really want that layer, and we'll work again from the new modified image. So this is great. And what I may also want to do, because this image is slightly washed out, I'll probably also go to the, I mean, you don't have to do it, but depending upon the image, you can also change the color temperature slightly, not really much, just to give it a bit darker tone. And what I normally do is I try to use the color, or not really the color, but the curves, because when you're working with the curves, you can actually do it very quickly. So you can actually change this to slightly dark. And if you're talking about photographs, you don't have to be super cartoonish. I mean, don't do something like this. It will look, of course, really weird and stupid. But just try to change it slightly and play with it. There is no I mean, you don't really have to go too wild on this. I mean, don't oversaturate your images. Just try to improve the overall look of the image, and it is not really a technical thing. Just see how it looks like, and that is it. I think that is all I need to do. And this looks good, by the way. And what I'll do, I'll probably press OK, by the way, and you have the image. Now press Control A, Control C, go back to your main image. And this is where we'll do the main thing. We'll align the images, and for aligning the images, you can obviously use the grid, but for this particular part, we'll just do it manually. And if you notice this line here, then what you can do is you can actually undo it, go back to the image, and you can actually then press Control Shift A and make sure that you don't have to do it, but if you can, or if you want, you can actually merge these images. So click on the pasted layer because we have two layers right now. So if you click on this particular pasted layer and you can merge down, you will have this one image, right? So do it again and try to paste one more time, and now you will get the proper image with everything selected, because you may have a background. Now you can actually change it to layer. No, we have to change it to new layer. So this is of course something that you can do very easily. Use the move tool, align the image somewhere here roughly, and because we are talking about this image that you want to of course cut later on using scissors, what you can do is you can actually have two guides so that things are easier for you. So maybe the first guide could be somewhere here, and maybe the second guide could be somewhere here. And again, as I mentioned before, you can also rely on those tools to, not really tool, it's basically, for each and every grid line or guideline, not grid line, guideline, you can actually you can actually be very precise, which I'm not really doing right now because this video is intended for people who can do things quickly if they want without using Photoshop, because right now we are using GIMP. GIMP is free, it is open source. So this is the first image, and you can obviously see that the moment you place the moment you're near the grid, or why I'm saying grid, the guideline, it will snap. And usually this happens because if you go to view option on top, it says here snap to guide. So make sure this is selected so that you can ensure that your image is aligned. And this alignment is important because what you need to do now, you can actually select this layer and maybe duplicate this, and you will have one more image. And you can, because right now we are doing it on the whole layer, you can actually also do it on the selection, but it's okay. I think we are just doing it very quickly. And one more time, Control V, and one more image, right? This looks wonderful, by the way. So we have these three images, and if you want, you can also just merge everything just to keep things simple. So maybe to new layer, maybe you can merge it down and then again merge it down one more time, and then you have the whole layer. And again, we can do this one more time for the whole layer. And when you're doing it for the whole layer, you can actually use the same method, the same concept, where you can simply use the snap tool or the snapping feature. And now we have this wonderful image that you can print. And of course, before you print, maybe you want to merge everything. Again, you don't have to do it, but if you merge it, then yeah, why not? Let us merge it. So we just have one image, one single image. I normally don't merge because sometimes if I have to modify things later on, I can. So this is our wonderful image, and what we can do now is we can print it, obviously. And for printing, obviously, you know how to print. Make sure when you're printing, because it depends on the setup, it depends on your printer. Let me talk about a few things. So when you're printing, make sure you go to the page setup, and this page size should match the page size. So if you're using, I guess, 5x7, so maybe you can select here 5x7 here. If you have, this may not be, because you have to probably convert. Usually you will have the inches here if you're using maybe, I'm not really sure. But if not, try to convert your inches to millimeters and then set the size, and make sure the orientation here is also proper. Otherwise, this will not really look good. So make sure it is landscape or whatever it is, like maybe horizontal. Maybe it is, most likely it will be landscape, because if we are doing it in landscape, but it may be different. But make sure you select the page size and orientation here. And what you can do is, you can see here the image is not really looking the way we want. So you can obviously change it to inch and make sure it is 5 and no, not 5, 7, and it is 5. And what else? I believe you also need to ignore the page margin if you want. It depends, but most likely if you're using the right size, you will have to. And I believe because I'm using A4, I guess I need to use custom size. Let us do a conversion. Let us. I want to be proper when I want to use it properly. So for custom size, let me name it as 5x7, and because I can't really change the. Let me check how many millimeters are there in 1 inch. I know 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, so it should be, I guess, 2.54 into 10, so 20.54. Let us see. 20. I mean, not really, but let me just use simple tool here to convert, to do the math. Okay, so we are talking about okay, so we are talking about the width, which is 7 inches, and 7 inches into how many centimeters? 2.54 into 10. Okay, so we are talking about 177.8 millimeter. Okay, 177.8, and the height is 5 into 2.54 into 10, 127. Okay, this is fine, 127, and close. So hopefully this is now looking wonderful. Yes, this is indeed wonderful. And what we can do is, okay, let me get rid of the option to calculate. Okay, so this is wonderful, and I guess we can now print. I don't have a printer configured on this laptop yet because I need to set up cups, which I forgot how to do because it has been many years, but of course now I'll do it. So this is great and it looks wonderful, and I think that is it. That is really it. I hope you have learned something, and again, if you are living in India, I'm sure you won't be doing it, but I think knowing how to do these simple things is really going to help you a lot, because although you can I know in Delhi you can go to a local shop, they charge 20 rupees, 40 rupees, I don't know, for many copies, and imagine you don't have access to those photographers or printers, but you still need those photographs. If you're in UK, to print 4 photographs, you have to pay like £3, £4, maybe £5. It is really expensive. I mean, it's not really super expensive, but I don't really want to pay £5 for something I can do myself. It is nothing but maybe 10 minutes. I mean, of course, if I'm doing it for myself, and I need a photograph right now, and I don't have a photograph, or maybe I have a photograph, I don't think the whole thing will take more than 10 minutes of my time. And I usually have these templates with me that I keep always to print with my latest photograph. And today I just thought I'll probably show you this so that you can also, first of all, learn and do it yourself. I think doing it yourself is much more satisfying, right? And that is all I wanted to share today in this video. All right, so I hope you learned something new today, and you also enjoyed watching this video. Bye bye.